What's up? Welcome back. I'm John Stark from MacTheMovieGuy.com, your favorite blind film critic, and today I'm talking about the Black Box Diaries. This is an Oscar shortlisted documentary feature. Um, you can actually currently watch on Paramount Plus with Showtime with audio description. Look at that. It's a it's a it's got audio description. That's so nice. That's so pleasant to just have the accessibility like that. Actually, kind of really unexpected, to be totally honest, with the amount of documentaries that I've seen this year. I was not expecting it, but very welcome. Um, and it's also because it's not a talking head documentary. There's actual like reason to have audio description. There's a substantial amount of it in here, as there's a little bit of like sort of journalistic approach to the filmmaking style here, as well as a lot of translation, because this film is about a female journalist in Japan who has a sexual assault and tries to file charges, but unfortunately, Japan's system is really not set up for women. So it's sort of like an eye-opening look at how Japan treats this topic. Um, and even when she tries to get help from police, sort of the immense amount of barriers that are put up against her in this venue. There's even one point where, as the movie progresses, she ends up writing a book called Black Box Diaries, which is how uh, the movie gets its title. But she's reading like a comment from somebody who's like another Japanese woman and who shames her and does the victim blaming thing and is like, well, there must have been something that you did wrong, you know. The system has just gaslit everybody into believing that women are below men in this society and second class citizens. Um, and you wouldn't get any of that just simply by the title Black Box Diaries, which is why sometimes you have to just dive in and check a film. I didn't know what this movie was about. I just knew it was Oscar qualifying and I watched it. So, what I got was a little bit of a nonfiction she said from Japan, which even directly references the Me Too movement. This journalist starts her journey a little bit earlier than the Weinstein scandal sort of broke. I think she starts in 2015, if I remember correctly, is when this stuff sort of starts to happen for her. So it's a little bit before the Me Too movement, and she's kind of watching that break in America, and women standing up and saying hashtag Me Too. Then in Japan, it's just like it's just a totally different culture. She has help from a very sympathetic like detective, but you know he won't. He's like, well, if I go too far, then I'm seen as a traitor, and he goes into all the reasons why he can't stick his neck out. It's dangerous, It's an interesting look, and it's one of the reasons why I always feel like when I talk about how international films need to be accessible to our audiences, because we need these kind of perspectives for people who are just like, oh, Japan's cool. I love Japanese culture. I want to go to Tokyo one day. It seems like they got a lot of high tech stuff. Heard they got a lot of Kit Kat flavors. Whatever your thing is. I love Godzilla movies. There's always there are differences, and I think this documentary really explores one of the greatest ones, which is the gender gap, and how women are just not seen on equal footing and treated equally, and this woman's claims are not treated with the same regard. So, uh, before become an expat in Japan, you may want to think about that. before venturing off. So she does speak some English, and actually mostly English. What I thought was sort of interesting and a little, honestly, a little jarring, just kind of like the juxtaposition of it, was the fact that the narrator is like Irish English, and so it was just an interesting choice. Like, I'm so used to hearing UK narrators, but not one with sort of like a little bit of an Irish flavor to it. Um, in a movie that's set in Japan. And I'm grateful from where the audio description, like, there is audio description, but it's just, I found it amusing that is where that's the audio description track that we get, is a Japan set documentary with a female centered journalist who speaks English, but also audio description from Ireland. Cool. It's just like awesome. Um, so I man, there are a lot of documentaries this year, and I this has been a great year for documentaries. And Black Box Diaries for me feels like a documentary that's just a little late. If I had to say anything on it, it feels like we have documentaries that are timely, that are hitting exactly when they need to hit, versus documentaries that are hitting and they want to teach us about something else. And I think that's kind of the difference, is that when you have a documentary like No Other Land, that feels like right now, this is happening as we speak, which is exactly what happened with 20 Days of Maripol last year. You have a documentary like that versus a documentary that feels like it should have come out maybe like 2 or 3 years ago to really sort of be at its peak attention. I mean, if you look at sort of the Academy's reception to She Said, it wasn't even that great, and that was like 2 years ago. So I don't know that Black Box Diaries is necessarily going to register, but uh, it's about capturing the moment and capturing it, but also the thing is also about how long it takes her to get anywhere with this too. So she really couldn't have released this when the iron was hot for this type of a documentary here in America, because of where Japan's patriarchal society is. It's a double-edged sword. So now she has to try to get people, well, not she specifically, I should say the producers of Black Box Diaries have to get people um, deeply invested in the Me Too movement again, while also there's a war in Ukraine, there's a war in Gaza. It's just, it becomes a little bit of an uphill battle, I think. And I don't know. I don't know if this will be in the five, but I think it's a good documentary. Um, I just kind of feel like maybe there are some stronger ones this year, but only because of when you hit, at the time you hit when you hit. Although for some people, this will hit them harder because they'll have a closer relationship with it. I am a dude, so you know, I mean, there's something to be said for that. I did love the movie She Said, and I support women and the movement, but um, interesting, and really just was not expecting Irish audio description, but it's English, but I mean, the narrator's, I believe, Irish. I'm gonna go with Irish. She sounds really Irish. So, um, that's it. Black Box Diaries. I'm giving it an A minus. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing, and I'll see you guys on the other side.